Failing to succeed, failing in order to succeed is what we're going to be talking about in this episode of Act Natural with John and Courtney. Tune in, actnaturalpodcast.com. We are back with the Act Natural podcast with John and Courtney, and today we are talking about failure.
Failure and learning how to fail and what to do with your failures and how to turn that failure into a success.
Hey, you're going to fail. Everything's going to go wrong. You're going to lose all kinds of money. You're going to disappoint your parents. You're going to disappoint your wife. Everyone around you. It's going to be okay, though. We're going to walk you through that.
John's going to walk us through it because I'm still the one who runs away, even if there's an opportunity to fail. So,
well, let's start with defining. Let's define what failure is, because I think that we have different definitions, and I think that culturally there's a different definition. I feel like we're taught lots of different things, and depending on where we're at in life, it's how we view what failure is. So, what is failure? Like, what is it actually?
Actually, it is falling short and being unable to accomplish something either at the standard or to completion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, every day, our coffee shop is great, but there, employees and people who are doing like jobs inside of that fail on some level. Like maybe a shot was not extracted perfectly, right? Well, the standard is this, and they've falling short of the standard is what failure is, like by definition. And I think that, but how do you take it? Like, how do you take it a step further than that? Because there's a standard of living that we all have. Like, I want to operate at this level. Anything below that is failure. I don't see it as much as here's a list of standards and things I have to do, and if I don't do them, then I fail. I think it's the act of giving up. Failure is stagnation. Failure is stopping after you've messed up and not doing better. It's that whole quote of like practice makes permanent. Practice does not make perfect, because if you're just repeating the same task over and over again, if you're failing and you just continue to just stay there, that's actually what failing is, instead of, moving on and getting better. What do you think about that?
I think that's a very freeing definition. I would love for failure to mean that it's just a stepping stone, a springboard to continue. Yeah. But that's just so not the way that I have experienced it because of my academic background. I mean,
and you thrive in academics. Like that is a big deal for you. I know that you like love that system, like you love how it operates.
It is a very easy way to gauge yourself. You're either failing or you are doing an okay job but could be doing better.
Do you think that's good to have a system like that?
Criteria, or you are excelling above the others, and it's like you're this, or you're this, or you're this, and it helps where you are. But no, it's not a great system because it's labeling you with that. I'm not saying anyone has to take it so serious. They don't have to. They could fail a class and say, yeah, no big deal. Like, I'm just going to retake it. They don't have to paint themselves as a failure. That's the way that I see it. I was failing math because math is stupid.
Gosh.
I was failing math because math is stupid. And I was on the path to failing math. It just doesn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me, okay? And I don't like how letters and numbers can coexist. It doesn't make sense, all right? And so anyway, I was failing it, and I honestly felt like there was something wrong with me. There's something mentally wrong. There's a block. There's just something that I can't break through, and I'll never be able to do this. And you want to think, stick with it, with your definition, keep going. But here's the thing, they're moving on to other harder content.
So you're judging yourself next to other people, though.
Well, you're judging yourself next to other people, but you're judging yourself at, if we want to use this metaphor and take it outside the classroom, stuff is still hitting you. Like, you still, you're advancing, and like math is one of those concepts that you build on. Well, so if I didn't understand concept 2 and 3 and 4, how am I supposed to just keep going? And now we're on concept 6, 7, and 8, but I still don't understand those first concepts.
So bringing it back into the...
I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's a thing in the real world.
Well, that's what I'm concerned with. Like, I don't understand. It seems like when you build up this atmosphere of failure, like what it means to you, a large portion of it is people are moving at a different rate than I am. Therefore, I can't deal with this one thing that I'm dealing with. It's the building blocks of it. I feel that way sometimes with coffee. I'll follow a lot of other coffee shops. Maybe people there's a really cool company in California.
Cat and Cloud.
Yeah, I think he's in California. I follow him on like YouTube.
He's over at Malibu Beach.
Okay, so I'm following this guy. I'm watching his like YouTube journey. I'm watching him start these crazy cool coffee shops. He's got 2 espresso machines for each one. Has his own roaster, and inside of the same time span. So he started before me, but it's 2 years. Like, he's not very old as far as his coffee journey. He has 2 crazy locations and a roaster and a great YouTube channel and all this stuff.
And he won an award for #1 podcast. In his field.
He's got a coffee podcast. So this guy's crazy cool. It's like it's like Chris Baca. I don't know how to say his last name. I like this guy. He's super cool. So
Cat and Cloud guy.
yeah, if I'm like having that academic judging myself by I'm not at this place at this time, and I'm really struggling with finding, maybe it's like a really good barista that understands our standards, and I'm dealing with a really small thing, or maybe like I'm dealing with, I can't get my macchiato like I want it to taste, or maybe I can't get my brown sugar latte like I really want it to. And that little small deal that I'm messing up on, and then I look at someone else that's excelling like leaps and bounds, like, how's this guy do this? I can see like wallowing in that feeling of feeling inadequate and saying, why do I struggle with this small thing, this fundamental thing, when things are moving beyond me? But I don't get that system. Like, I don't get judging myself based upon that. I really feel like education is an individual learning. It's quite literally what it is. Like that Montessori style of like discovery and your own personal growth. I think there has to be standards, but I wonder, like, in a whole system way, I think that you are a product of that. A lot of people don't have identity outside of other people giving them a class. They say, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't thrive inside of a structureless system. I need someone to place me. And when you let other people place you by a system, I think it leads to an unhealthy view and feeling. It's not even a view. This is a heavy thing that weighs on a lot of people, and failure. I've wondered about this because, we have a son. He's 9 months now, Henry Anderson.
He will be on the 14th.
Isn't that amazing? He's grown up so fast. And I wonder what his view of failure is going to be. And it's greatly going to be determined upon how we raise him and then what system we put them in. I don't want to discredit an educational system. And then I also don't want that to be an excuse to not be in that race. But what it does to the psychology of a person is an unhealthy view of failure, because you're not placing yourself, you're allowing a system to do that. And I fall into that trap sometimes, watching these really like uber successful coffee shops or media design businesses or whatever field that I'm in. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, the system is they have more likes. The system is they have more engagement in the same amount of time. Well, why can't I achieve that? Like, what am I doing wrong? And it's just not about that. I really view it as a personal journey. But what's your take on that? Because I know that you know that about like my viewpoint on it. Yeah. But still, it's ingrained inside of a lot of people that we talk to. I mean, a lot of the staff that we have, I'll be honest, it's been a struggle, dealing with wanting to maintain a very high standard.
People don't like not being good at something.
They don't like, yeah. I mean, I don't like not being good at something. Like, that bothers me. But it's like, I don't want to be perfect, but I want to live a very disciplined life where, whatever I commit to is to the best of my ability. And inside of the coffee shop, it's been difficult.
Okay. You want to do something, whatever you live for is the best of your ability. But what if you have to keep doing something and you're still not good at it? And you have to keep doing it for your job and you're still not good at it and you're not getting any better. Like, you're going to keep going. You don't want to lose your job, but you're not succeeding. You are failing. And
I don't think it's failing. Like honestly, I don't. Like I mean, how long? Like still, this is 2 years into the coffee business. We mess up every single day. Like there's still things that are not fixed. There's still procedures that are not complete. Do I feel like a failure? No.
I agree. Overall,
not at all.
As a coffee shop owner, I don't feel like we failed in this. We are not where I want to be with the way that the shop is. It's a great shop. Everyone loves it. Number one shop. Everyone loves it. But they don't know our list. People don't know everything that we want to do with the shop, and they don't know everything that we have envisioned. And I've kind of let myself down with that. It's like, because it's not at this point that we want
at this time, right? This is just, well, I mean, what are you judging that by? Like, I feel like
based on what I want.
Yeah. Then why do you want that? Like, who are you following? Like, what's the standard?
I'm not saying that there is. Okay. I'm not saying that there is here's a successful coffee shop and here's an unsuccessful coffee shop bar. I just know of what I want to offer and what I want people to see whenever they come in, and what I want them to feel, and what I want them to taste, what I want them to be able to experience from our shop, based on a culmination of different experiences and different shops, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've got this own standard in my head of what I want. I told you this morning I watched that music video, and they were trying to accomplish this like vintage vibe. They were trying to film it like a vintage style and everything. And I was like, she fell short of the bar. I don't know why, but I just know it's not what it's supposed to be.
I think that's awesome. Like, I think that you saying, I'm not judging myself by anyone else. I'm inspired by these other people, but it's not setting, the standard of which I want to operate. Like, it's really internal. It's saying, I want to offer this to people. This is the value that I want to give. And I'm upset that I'm not there. I think that's great. Like, I think it's great that is an internal thing that you have. And I think that's the first step to identifying, what is failure, and then how to use that to be better. Because you want a certain level of being uncomfortable, right? You don't want to be comfortable with where you're at. And I hope that we never become comfortable inside of our coffee shop. We want it to be a constant progress to moving forward. The real issue is when you fail at that, when you lack to meet the standard, and then that becomes a paralysis. It becomes so depressing and so down. It creates this almost depression around it. And that is what stops progress from happening. And that's the real issue. I think the first step is saying, I want to do this because this is something that I personally want. Not for gain of being on some, better than other people, but it's be motivated out of the value that I want to give. So step one, why are you feeling like that? Is it because of your own pressure that you put on yourself? Is it because of someone else's? And I didn't know that about you. Like, I didn't know if you were like looking at other coffee shops and saying, or just looking at other people and saying, they're at this stage. Why am I not at that? But I mean, I know you want to give value, but that's good.
I mean, I compared myself with whenever I was in the classroom and whenever I was teaching, because there's always someone else there that's doing what you're doing. There's no one else there that's doing my life. So I have to use myself as the bar, because there's other coffee shops out there, but there's not other coffee shop owners out there that have my Henry and have our whole situation business and have our staff and have our circumstances. So there is no one else to compare it to.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of people do that though. And I think that they get down because they're not at that level.
I compared myself when I was a teacher, because it was just because there's a bar there. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, you get a score from 1 to 5. Okay, well, this teacher had this success rate last year, and there's so much data. You're able to find those data points, and you're able to see.
You're just a number. That's what I don't like. I don't like that we live inside of a system that just makes us a freaking number. All we are is just, you don't hit this, you don't hit this, you have this, you have this. Why is the system built like that?
Because you have to have you have to have order. Like, you've got to know, are people pulling their weight? If everyone is out here, that's what's such a struggle with being your own business owner, being an entrepreneur. Like, there is not, you're making your own path, and you're making your own, what is it?
Pie chart. I don't know. Like, it's
No.
your own standards of what to judge yourself by.
And there's not a route that says you have to be at this point by this time. And it's just such a challenging
like that.
thing to keep yourself like feeling like you're on track, because what's going to happen for most people who have their own business is they're going to feel behind. They're just going to feel like, I haven't made it, so I'm behind. Or even if they have made it, are they beating last year's numbers?
Yeah.
Are they beating last year's engagement or last quarter's? I mean, there's always something else to do in the creative field. There's always something else to build. Rachel Hollis basically started this entrepreneurial, I'm not going to say she started this culture for women, but she was like one of the front runners.
Yeah.
And she was doing this before the internet. And she's got a very successful Rise podcast, and she's got multiple books, Girl Wash Your Face, and Girl Stop Apologizing, and stuff like that, you know. And she's a very successful blogger with her own company and her own people who help her. And what did they do this last month? They created a conference, the Rise Conference.
Super cool.
Where people paid money and came to this arena. And she led this conference where they had multiple speakers and like workshops and like all of this stuff, all these different value points for creators and entrepreneurs. And it's like, well, what is she going to do next year? You know, who says what the bar is? She's just building.
Yeah, that's
She's just
great.
creating, you know, but what I'm trying to say is it's hard to know where you stand. And that can be an exciting thing, and that can be a good thing. But if you have these visions and you're not there yet, you feel like either you're not on track, or like I failed to meet that mark, or whatever it is. And that can be, it's just a struggle. I'm not saying it's not, it's okay that it's a struggle. It's okay
Absolutely.
that it's not easy. But
it's supposed to be.
I'm just trying to identify, I'm trying to give it a name.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think that us having different personality types, I'm not going to lie. Like, of course, like I felt like I've missed the bar sometimes. I've never let it like cripple me. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I thrive inside of a system where I have control over creating the standard of what I want to live my life by, and that I have control by how I judge that. And, you know, setting this 5-year goal and saying, here's all the time limits on when, you know, I need to meet those things. I like that a lot. Like, I like the pressure of that. I don't want someone else holding up a clipboard to me and saying, you have to move at this rate, or good job, you've done this by this goal. I want to set my own goals. And I also want to set the team's goals. I want to set my whole operation. Like, I want to be the person who designs that. But what it leads to with you being in that position is saying, you know, now you're required to do the same thing when, you know, you're inside of a structureless system. And the very act of designing that system takes away from where you thrive the most at. And I've been worried about that, you know, knowing that you really do well inside of a system like that. And then if you design it, does that take away from you still feeling fulfilled? You know, because people who own businesses are all different personality types, right? So how can you live a fulfilled life when what gives you fulfillment? An easy way to do that is knowing where you're at. Do you think, Courtney Grace, that you will ever know where you're at while you're owning your own business to be serious about it?
I don't know if fulfilled is the right word. It's more like, will I ever feel good about where I'm at? Probably not.
No, don't say that.
It's the truth.
Do you really think that?
Yeah, like I can, whenever I'm downstairs and I'm like, I really miss being
a barista.
Working. Yeah, I really.
It's fun.
I know. But I could push myself. I could be like, yeah, we're get these drinks out and we're gonna, you know, and I'm working with a team back there, and there's a standard at which it needs to be completed, and I can work within that really well. But when I'm up here in the office and it's like,
It's so undefined.
It's so undefined, and I need the lines on my paper, and I don't do well with no lines on the paper.
And you don't want to draw your own lines.
No, they're gonna be crooked. Because here's the
Whoa,
thing.
why are they going to be crooked, Courtney?
They're gonna be crooked because I struggle with building systems. I don't.
That's okay.
Think about it like that. It's like, okay, if you're gonna go down to, do you want to be a leader or do you want to be on a team? Like, do you want to lead the team or do you want to be on the team? I want to be on the team.
Yeah, you're a team player.
I am a team player. Like,
You're a good one.
I am on the team and I'm going to compete on the team, but I do not want to lead the team.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I think in the beginning, and if we can say this a little bit, while we were forced to design a structure for Letters of Motion, we were forced for sustainable literacy. We were forced with the Coffeehouse, with Fox Weddings, with Fernway Fox. You can look at other businesses and emulate them in the structure that they have, but we needed something unique to us. And while I was doing all of that and drawing all these straight lines, I relied a lot on you to be like, help me design this. And, now, of course, I get counsel from you. Of course, I get your opinion. But this system, I'm designing this with Tanya.
yeah,
And I feel like a really good point in our relationship where it started to turn and get better was when I stopped. I don't like the word, I was relying on you, but I stopped expecting you to do something that you were not designed or gifted to do. Does that sound okay to say that?
100%.
Okay, because I want to be.
I felt, here's what was happening. And we're good.
Okay.
John and I have found a way to work together. Okay.
I love
People
you
are
so much.
How
I
do
really
you
do.
work with your spouse? I'm like, don't do what we do.
Oh, goodness.
But we found a way to work pretty well with each other now.
Yeah.
It's not 100%.
We're still working on it.
But it's a work in progress, which that's good enough for me. That is good enough. But you would have these uncommunicated expectations.
Yes.
Saying, we're going to rule this together. We're going to do this. We're going to run this together side by side. And I'm like fighting 100, like I'm running the opposite direction. No. And you don't even hear me. You're like, yeah, we're doing this together. Why didn't you do that? I need you. Why didn't that happen? And it's like, because I don't want to do this. Because I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm running the opposite direction. You're like, man, you missed that. What happened here? You didn't do it. And I was like, I've already said I don't know how to do this and I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And
that was hard for me to hear that.
I know, because you've got this romantic idealist idea in your head of side by side, you're Mario and I'm Luigi.
Mario, were they married?
No, they're brothers. They're plumbers.
I know, but
you are like Batman and Robin, Indiana Jones and Louisiana Jones. And you are like, we're going to rock this. And I was like, no, I don't want to.
And that was okay.
I don't want to lead this. Like, I am here and because I have great perspective.
You do.
I can tell you what the people think. Okay.
Yes, you very much are.
What do the people think about this? Let me tell you. And I have no problem with that. Or I'll see something and I'll be like, we need to make a structure change. Don't know how that needs to happen, but it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring that to you and I'll be like, let's make this structure change. I just, it was a real struggle at the beginning because I wanted that too. Part of me wanted to be like, yeah, I can girl boss this and I can do this with you. But the thing is that's just not how my mind works. And I know that we can grow and I don't want anyone to be limited to say like, I'm just not good at that. But I just don't have an interest.
This is interesting. Listen, this is important because when you're talking about failure and you're doing something that you're not meant to do, you don't just freaking commit to it and say, I'm going to do this. Some people are, I am not meant to be a professional NFL player. I'm not. I don't got the body for it. I don't have the stamina for it. I'm not meant to be a basketball player.
I need you to stick with it, John.
Right?
Stick with it.
So why would
Don't walk away from this?
Some people are naturally inclined. Like I hate the mentality of staying inside of your lane. Stay in your lane. Because so many people are like, why are you into coffee when you're into media design?
And we can do anything we want.
People are very but you have to know like what makes you happy, right? Like how do you work? And yeah, I mean, keep going,
and I
man.
was like, I don't want to, my work, I don't want to build my own job definition, and
Yeah.
I don't want to build my own job. I don't want to build my own daily workload.
Let me give an example of
I was
this.
like, I want to have a daily workload, and then I work inside of that, and then I leave it.
So we're in the office and we're designing business cards. And Fernway Fox is our media design and production business. And we were designing business cards for ourselves. And Tanya turned to me and said, hey, we've not talked about titles. And I realized that we had just been working this whole time without any titles. And I love it. Like, yeah, we are all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what do you want to be? And she just laughed. She just laughed. She was just like, what do you mean? It's like, well, what do you feel that you are? And she's like, I don't know. And I said, well, what do you want to be? And says, creative director. And I said, that sounds great. I'll be CEO. And I have a card with my name, CEO, because I'd never been a CEO before. So I was like, oh, I'll be that. And then we thought about, Devin. I was like, what do you want to be? And I was like, well, she didn't know. I said, okay, well, let me give you a structure. And I realized that some people need more structure, and Devin is one of those people. And I said, you're going to be a producer. You're going to produce the podcast, all of this content. And that's what you're going to be. And she is one like you. She thrives inside of a structure. If you don't give her structure.
If you give me a title,
yeah,
I will fulfill that title. But unlike you and Tanya, I can't just create the work and then be given a title that matches the work.
So
I feel very limited in that way, but I also feel very much more sure of myself because I know what the walls are and the lines are, and I know how to steer myself, and I find a lot more security in that. I felt a lot of
Courtney, I feel insecure inside of a system that already has walls.
Is that because you don't want to measure short?
No, it's because I don't agree with where they're placed.
Why not?
Because I don't feel like I can accomplish what I can truly accomplish inside of something that's mostly already built. And I'm not talking about, I have to start another YouTube because I don't like the way it's built. It's not like that. It's about, trying to accomplish a goal inside of a system that's already there. Most of the time, it's hard for me because there's so much red tape. There's so many things that I don't understand why they exist that way. And so a lot of times, man, I want to do this, but I feel restricted by things that are outside of my control. So then I look at that situation, I'm thinking, no, I don't like this. Screw this. Why can't we do it this way? And oftentimes, we end up creating alternative structures like Good Morning Martin to accomplish what, maybe the paper should have been doing and MBA was doing, right? I didn't see how these things worked very efficiently. So I said, well, let's create something else. And so I feel a lot of the same things that you feel, but it's for the opposite reasons. It's so weird to think about it that way. You know what I mean? We truly have these opposite personalities. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot about this is just something that I really realized, because you're saying I need the walls to feel this way. And then I'm saying I need the lack of walls to feel this way. You know what I mean? So, how are we working together again? It's me. Together. It's doing this, right? I build the walls and then you say, okay, but they need to be a little bit more over this way. And I'm like, all right, I can do that. And then you operate inside of that title. Is that what's happening? Because maybe that's what's happening.
That's kind of what's happening. I still would like to have my own designated space.
Yeah, you really need your own room.
And right now, I'm still breastfeeding Henry. And so it's we don't, I am Henry's keeper.
Right.
And I love that. But it is challenging whenever Henry will need me or he needs entertainment. He's a baby.
Right.
He's a baby, so I can't give 4 dedicated hours, uninterrupted hours to work on something or to write these many things or to build whatever. Because it's there's Henry and he's crawling around and he needs me and I'm distracted. So what I'm trying to say is, right now in my personal life, in my work life, so much of the work is I can give you an hour here, or, I can take this home and I can work on this like this, but it's not the way that I would want to be, where I wake up, go on my run, I get my shower, I get ready, and then I go into the office and I work for this many hours, and then we go out into the field.
Structure.
And we
You're talking about structure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so if I were to have that every single day, I would feel a lot more comfortable, confident. I would feel a lot more secure, and I would be able to gauge myself a lot better instead of my gauge being day to day and I guess hour to hour.
I really want to give you that structure.
Well,
I really want to build something that you can thrive in, and that the team can thrive in, because I've had one-on-one conversations with everybody in our coffee shop. And I've talked with Rachel, the district manager now, and Tanya and Devin. I've talked with everybody individually, and I've asked them, how can we be better? Right? How do you feel? Like, how are things going? And all of them have expressed the same thing: structure. I would like to have more structure in training. I would like to have a better structure in communication. Like, they didn't say the word structure, but it was all around that same thing. I just don't know where I'm at.
Here's the thing about someone like you, John, who doesn't need lines, who builds his own lines and everything. It's very hard for you to understand.
And have empathy. Like, it's
how
hard.
important it is. Like, this is how the country is run. This is how everything is run. This is how, and I'm not talking about like free market and entrepreneurs and YouTube creators. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the rules of society. We work in a certain way.
Well, it's the way human behavior is.
Yeah. I mean,
and I wish that I didn't feel so disconnected from it. Like, I really wish that I could emotionally feel what like you and like these guys are like feeling, because it just, I do sense the anxiety. I do sense the like discomfort. I can see it in their body language, but on a deeper level, I don't connect. Like, I don't understand it. It's not that I don't give value to it. I'm worried about it. Okay. I'm giving value. I know that my success will be determined upon building a system of structure where people feel validated, where they feel like they can judge themselves and know that they're not failing. They're on this progressive journey. But I don't know, like, in order to build this, Courtney, it requires empathy and being able to connect to build a system like this. And I have a gap inside of me that I'm not able to connect on that level. And that's why it's been so important for me and you to work together. But so many times I'll say, okay, Court, go design that section of the road, if you want to use that section of the wall, because that's the gap that I don't understand. But then I've given you too much, right? I'm saying, oh, go design all of it, right? I never said that, but it's like, I don't know how to like properly use what you have, like your amazing strength, and then to build that sort of wall that needs to be built there. And that's where we're at. And we're talking about like failure, not letting that paralyze you from a structure like what we're talking about. What about people who draw their own lines, but are not, providing enough of that structure for people to feel like they're not failing? Like, that's a big thing that I'm dealing with inside of this whole failure talk. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're taking one of the big steps of checking in with everyone.
Yeah. I think open communication is a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, especially if people have vocalized more communication or whatever. Step one, I'll communicate more,
How do we use failure for success?
Yeah. We have to, it's a lot of what you're saying of progression. Just keep going. Take different circumstances where you did not measure up right and either try to correct that behavior. If you try to ask of how you could do better, maybe pull more resources. What other systems are out there that we could adopt? Like, for example, if you're a business owner and you have struggled with taxes or like city paperwork or, licensure fees or whatever, and you have struggled with that and you have missed deadlines in the past and had to pay fees, and you would say that you have failed in that organizational system. Okay, well, why don't you use some of your resources? So let's look up some accountants that help out other local business owners so they know some of those deadlines, or bringing someone else on your team to help you with that kind of structure. So knowing it's not all on you and using your resources, I think, is a way that you could keep yourself from repeating the same mistakes. It's a great way that you could escape failure or use failure and turn that into success, is just utilizing your resources differently.
Using failure as success is looking at failure as that getting up, that progression, looking at it as necessary in order to be successful. You have to learn. And the best way to learn is to fail, is to mess up, is to be bold, is to take a chance, and then look at why it failed. Repeat, but don't do the same thing. Insanity. What is insanity? Definition.
Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result.
I really associate insanity with failure because I think it's that. I think you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, wondering why you're unhappy, staying in the same place. I think that is failure.
Okay.
The definition of insanity is synonymous with failure. So anything that teaches you something that moves you forward, that you can learn from, that is the key to success. And that's how you use failure to succeed.
This has been Act Natural with John and Courtney, and we talked about failure and learning how to take that failure and use it to grow.
Awesome. It's been great, guys. See you in the next one.